Have you ever felt like there's a secret rule book for getting ahead? One that nobody ever actually gave you? Well, it turns out there is. Today, we're going to decode those unwritten rules of power, the real operating system that decides how things actually get done, no matter where you work. And it all starts with one crucial shift in how you see the world.
And this quote right here, it absolutely nails it. So many of us are taught to see the world as we wish it was, how it should work. But if you really want to be effective, you have to see it as it is. So for the next few minutes, let's just agree to take off the rose-colored glasses and become really accurate observers of how things actually play out.
All right, first up, the official story. This is all the stuff you hear about publicly, the formal rules, the mission statements, the pretty org charts. But here's the secret. A lot of it is just that, a story. It's often a very well-crafted fiction that's designed to hide what's really going on under the surface.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. You've got what a company says it values. That's its stated preference. But then you have its revealed preference, what it proves it values by who gets promoted and who gets shown the door. Always, always pay attention to the actions, not the words. That's the only truth that matters.
So what about that official org chart hanging on the wall? Yeah, think of that less as a map of power and more as a map of who gets the blame when something goes wrong. The real power, the real influence to make things happen, is almost always invisible. It's a hidden network of relationships and alliances that has nothing to do with the formal titles. Okay, so if the official story is mostly a fairy tale, what's actually real? Well, the real world is governed by a few fundamental laws, almost like the laws of physics. These are the unwritten rules that are running everything behind the scenes. And this one is the big one. The iron law of self-interest. Here's the truth. There's really no such thing as organizational altruism. People and companies act to solve their own problems. Your great work doesn't just magically get you a promotion. No, you get promoted when your success directly helps the selfish interests of the person who has the power to promote you. Think about it like this. If you're not actively steering your own career, if you don't have your own agenda, you don't just stand still. You automatically become a pawn in someone else's game, a resource for them to use to achieve their goals. It's a pretty stark choice, right? You're either a player or you're a piece on the board. All right, so if everyone's driven by self-interest, what's the fuel? What do people really want? You see, power has its own currencies, and believe me, it's not always about money. Understanding what these real currencies are is the absolute key to influencing people and getting things done. Sure, money is a motivator, but in a lot of organizations, these other currencies are way more valuable. I mean, think about it. Knowing what's really going on, being able to get 5 minutes with the boss anytime you want, being genuinely liked and respected, or being the one person who can fix a critical problem. That is real power. And here's how you actually use this. You have to figure out who you're dealing with, because you can't pay everyone in the same currency. For the climber, who just wants to be seen, you give them all the public credit. For the lifer who craves security, you frame your ideas around stability and lowering risk. You got to figure out what they truly value, and then you give it to them. Now this is one of those secrets that once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you are walking into a big meeting and hearing an idea for the very first time, you have already lost. The real decision was already made in what's called the meeting before the meeting. It happened in DMs, in one-on-one chats. The big, formal meeting is often just theater to rubber stamp a decision that was already wired. Okay, enough theory. Let's get into the good stuff. Your tactical playbook. How can you start using this knowledge, like right now? Here are a few simple but incredibly powerful tools you can start using immediately. This is such a powerful communication flip. Stop pitching your idea like a salesperson, which puts you in a low-status position. Instead, start acting like a doctor. Diagnose their problem first. Ask questions until they state what hurts. Once they've admitted they have a problem, your idea isn't a pitch anymore. It's the medicine. It's the obvious cure. Okay, if you remember nothing else, remember this acronym, BATNA. It stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement, and it is the single most important concept in any negotiation. Your power comes directly from how good your options are if you walk away from the table. If you desperately need the deal, you have zero leverage. The key is to always be working on your BATNA. This sounds so simple, right? But it is brutally effective and so hard to do. After you state what you want, your salary, your terms, whatever, just stop talking.
Complete silence. That silence creates a huge amount of tension, and human nature is to rush in and fill that awkward void. The first person who speaks loses ground. Let it be them.
And here is a simple, beautiful little move to protect yourself and make sure things actually get done. After any verbal conversation or agreement, send a quick follow-up email that says, "Hey, just to confirm as discussed," and then summarize what you agreed on. If they don't reply and correct it, that email becomes the official record. It creates accountability and saves you from headaches later.
Look, you can have all the best tools in the world, but if your mindset isn't right, they're useless. The final and most important step is to change how you see yourself and your role. This is all about making the shift from being a piece on the board to being a player in the game. See, we are all constantly being judged on two things: how competent we seem and how warm or likable we are. Now, the real danger zone is that low warmth, high competence box. If you're seen as brilliant but cold, you become a threat, and people will team up to take a threat down. The sweet spot, where real influence lives, is being seen as both highly competent and warm. So this is what it all boils down to. A piece is someone who follows the official story, asks for permission, and just hopes the world is fair. But a player understands the real game being played. They understand leverage, they act proactively, and they create their own plan. It's a fundamental shift from just being a participant to being a strategist. At the end of the day, the world isn't really split into good guys and bad guys. It's split into people who understand how power really works and people who don't. You've got the map now. You know the rules. So the only real question left is, are you a player or a piece?